Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh, my dear brothers, sisters, viewers, friends of Vikra TV. Welcome to another edition of Real Talk. I'm your host Iqbal Bana. As I keep saying to you every week, I invade your privacy at this time of the day on a Monday, come into your homes, hopefully for you, bringing some really interesting people on, talk about interesting subjects as well that affects all our lives on a day-to-day basis. Over the last few weeks, we've been talking about the election in this country, the local government election, and we've seen some really interesting results pop up around the country. Following the 7th of October attack by Hamas in Israel and the subsequent atrocities, which, as people say, and the genocide, as the UN has described, being taking place in Gaza, in Palestine itself, we have seen a huge movement grow in this country asking for permanent ceasefire and humanitarian aid to be supplied into Gaza and the people of Gaza. Most of that call has fallen on deaf ears, particularly on the two main political parties, and those members of the Black and ethnic minority community, particularly the Muslim community, who from the 50s onwards had been blindly supporting Labour through thick and thin, have become disenfranchised with the Labour Party, and we've seen this huge movement to try and develop an independent party or independent grouping of people to show Labour that they are discontent and not happy with the Labour Party policy. So at the election on May the 2nd, across the country, a number of people stood as independent councillors, wanting to make sure that the sitting councillors, Labour councillors in particular, who had not resigned from their party, would be taught a lesson in their words. So we've seen the elections. In Bradford, for example, 13 or 14 young independents were successful and became independent councillors. One of them, a very young 19-year-old Asian woman, another one who was Ali Islam, who was on my program a few months ago, also succeeded. This is the second time he stood, 22 years old, and all of them virtually turned huge majorities and defeated their candidates. So today I have two people who did exactly the same in seats that they were told were unwinnable. So this has taken place throughout the country in many, many parts, particularly those populated by very large populations of Muslims. So they've crossed the first hurdle. So the second hurdle obviously is, where do we go now, or where do they go now, and what are the state of play in their local authorities, and what strings can they pull in the political mire that is the local government, and how will that reflect as we go forward to the national election whenever that comes on later on in the year. So today I have two people who have been on my program before, one of whom was on the program before Ramadan and the other one was just before the elections. So I'm really deeply honoured to invite and welcome on my program today Tanisha Bramwell and Ali Arshad as well, both of them now independent councillors on Kirklees Council here in Huddersfield, Batley, Dewsbury, etc. So they are part of the 5 independent councillors that won the local government election in Dewsbury and in Batley, in Heckmondwike and Ravensthorpe. This makes up North Kirklees, and Huddersfield is what is known as South Kirklees. So Assalamu alaikum Ali, and good evening Tanisha. Welcome to my program. Thank you for coming. I know you must be very, very busy at this moment in time. Many congratulations to you both.
Thank you once again.
I know you must have worked damned hard, because a lot of people sort of wrote to you off and said, this is not likely to happen, this is not likely to win. In order to do that, obviously you must have worked really hard. And you turned over huge majorities, didn't you? Tanisha, in your case, it was quite a substantial landslide win, wasn't it?
Yeah, we came out with 3,109 votes.
Wow.
So we took 53%.
That's a huge majority in a local authority. And how did the other parties do in your? It was a safe Labour seat, wasn't it?
It was. It wasn't just a safe Labour seat. Even with the current climate politically, the area that I won in the ward is called Dewsbury West. We weren't even looked at, regardless of what's going on locally or nationally. It wasn't even a conversation worth having. People did not look at us as a viable threat throughout the campaign, from how people, from the outside looking in. However, the campaign team that I had in Dewsbury West were incredible.
10 weeks, must have been, yeah.
10 weeks, 7 days a week, every single day, every hour they could give, night, day, sun, rain, doesn't matter, they were there. So.
Well, elections are not easy to find, particularly if you're not part of a party structure like the Labour Party or the Liberal Party or the Conservative Party. So you're setting up yourself as an independent with without the support of family and friends, it's virtually impossible to win. Ali, you stood in Heckmanwijk, another well-known area, but not very largely populated by the Asian community. Mainly the majority of the voters in that area would be non-Asian. How would you receive? I mean, obviously you turned a majority as well as sitting councillor, Labour council. Both of you did. So how was the campaign for you?
It wasn't easy. It's as you said, it was a hard campaign, and I think we're both still recovering. All five of us are still recovering. It's been very busy ever since then as well. A lot of work to do, but there's a discontentment throughout the entire spectre of the communities. I found myself campaigning very hard in the non-BAME areas, traditionally Tory and Labour areas. A, they were impressed with the content of what we had to say as a door-to-door campaign team, and B, the disenfranchisement with Labour and with the Tories really did help the matter as well. And then, I think people underestimated the fact that we weren't on our own. We had independent Kirklees. It was a group of people. There was a number of us that came together to be able to bring this about. And they're the unsung heroes that we don't really talk about because we only get to see our faces.
Well, I'm sure there's a lot of people working behind the scenes to try and make sure that you get elected. And can I just remind people that the other three candidates in the North Kirklees area, Hanifa Darwan, Zahid Kahoot and Aziz Daji, and Aziz and Zahid with Ali were on my program a few weeks ago, and Tanisha was, as I say, before that, a few months ago, to do with the Palestine issue and Gaza. And as you know, she's a very passionate and a supporter of the people of Palestine, and she continues to do so. And I know all of them will be raising issues around Palestine within the local authority itself. But now that you've crossed this hurdle, which was a huge step, or in the words of Neil Armstrong, a giant leap for mankind. I mean, you shook up established political parties there. How have they sort of responded to what you've done? Because they were, as you say, they were not expecting it. They dismissed you in a way. They thought you were not really a threat. But the fact is that you have proved yourself to be a threat. How have they responded to your now sitting on the benches where they used to sit, or some of their colleagues used to sit?
Do you know if they have responded? I'm not paying attention. There's so much work to be done.
Because obviously it must be negative.
Again, if it is, it's not something I'm paying attention to. The only way forward is positive productivity and working hard, and that's exactly what we've done. We had to hit the ground running. We had councillor training almost immediately, and as soon as our phones and our emails were live, work came in, and that's what we're focused on. This underhanded way of politics that's been done the last 15 years, it's not worked. And it's the young people and the youth at the pinnacle of this movement. And what they want is representation. They want leaders to do the work. And people aren't asking for much. They're asking us to do our job description. So if there is a response or negativity, it's not something I've paid attention to.
Oh, that's very good news. Yeah, I mean, obviously you just have to look forward. But I mean, the expectation from your electors are likely to be quite huge, right? And people may think, all right, now we've turned things around, we've got new people. And by the way, as I said, Bradford had also a substantial number of people who won in seats. Some of them had been Labour's seats in particular for years and years and years. And in some cases, there were well long established, respected members of the Asian community who had been councillors there for many, many years. But as I say, young people are disenfranchised with the politics and the practices of the two major particular parties concerned, and therefore they wanted to exercise the democratic right to vote and bring about some change. So we've seen this happen, and I'm sure you'll all be waiting to see how these young people perform. And all of them, I'd probably say, under the age of 50, most of them under the age of 30, who have now been successful. And in Bradford's case, one very young 19-year-old Muslim woman who has also succeeded as well. So the next challenge, obviously, is that party politics and power is based on the numbers game, right? Whether wherever you may be. So without the numbers in your local authority, how much impact do you feel that you, for example, in Kirklees, would be able to make?
We're actually in a very interesting position. We don't want control of the council, neither do we want leadership, but we absolutely need to get done for the constituents of our communities, especially here in North Kirklees, what we set out to do. The fortunate position that we're in, we're the balance of power.
All right.
So when you historically look at independence, some may see it as a token gesture, some may see it as walking into the wind. You don't really hold anything that's going to be of any substance. But alhamdulillah, we're in a situation we actually hold the balance of power. So anybody who wishes to create the leadership of the council, they're going to have to come to us. I'm saying it on national TV here. They're going to have to come to us, and we're going to put the community forward. Within North Kirklees, there's a number of initiatives that need to be reopened, and there's another few initiatives that are facing the axe, which cannot face the axe. And whoever wants to have these conversations with us and put some ironclad agreements in place, we're going to be ready and waiting to have these conversations. So, for the first time ever, the independents.
So what you're saying is neither the Tory party or the Labour Party can run the council without your support.
Absolutely, absolutely.
Right? And this is the hung parliament type of situation.
I guess that's what the situation
is. If
is.
Either the Tory party or the Labour Party want to run the council, then they're going to have to come to you and say, join us. And that's when you can say, okay, we'll join you, but this is what our minimum requirements are.
And not necessarily even join them. Vote in our favour for this, but then that's when our deal is going to be on the table. But again, we know what we want. We know what we need to have done or undone, and then some pledges for the future as well. But we've not decided, who's gonna have our vote in order to get things done for themselves until we've decided as a block over here as to what we can get across the line very clearly.
You mentioned a block. So how many people actually are in the sort of independent grouping that you have at the moment? Because there must be former independent councillors in some local authorities. Some don't have this. Some may have Liberals as well. So are they also collaborating with you, or is that the bridges that you still need to build?
Right now, we're open to having a conversation with anybody.
Right.
Because we understand that we are coming into this learning. So we're not making any rational decisions. And we want to be transparent, which is something that political leaders locally have not done before.
Right.
So we're open to have conversations and take that and feed that back to community and our constituents and see what their response is. And whatever the majority of our constituents want, that is how we will move and how we will lead. We don't have a whip, we don't do our party line, we do what the community asks. So that's our mission, that's our focus.
All right.
And an interesting fact as well, ever since we were elected as the councillors, Labour has lost one more from their ranks. And again, look, we've got nothing against anybody. We've just got the vision of what the constituents want. And if Labour were the brick wall, the red wall as they call themselves, to the progress that was needed, especially in North Kirklees, and if another brick falls out, then, better for us.
Oh, definitely. The more who sort of disassociate themselves with the political structure that they've previously been in. But I mean, every local authority in Bradford, Kirklees and other places, they're all suffering from huge budget cuts. And we know that. And I'm sure you're fully aware of that. And you'll become even more aware as you get your feet under the table as well. How confident are you that, this huge juggernaut, which has made some decisions, very strategic decisions in local authorities, a lot of them are actually offloading some of their assets in order to get the money in to run even vital services like social services. How confident are you that, you'll be able to turn that juggernaut around to try and reshape some of the policies and the services that local authorities offer and the public expect? I mean, in transport, for example, in social services, children's services, youth services. I mean, I know this might be a too early a question to ask you because you won't have all the information. But what are your sort of key wants? If you can just explain that as independent group. All right, sorry, we're going to go for a break at the moment. We'll come back soon, inshallah. And if you want to call in, 01274 214 299. Hope you've enjoyed it so far. Don't go anywhere. I'll see you soon. Take care. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah.